You were with the Patriots and won a Super Bowl with them in 2014. You know this team well. What do you expect from Tom Brady?
I think Tom will come in. I think there'll be a little of an adjustment period as he goes through it. But look, he's got a couple factors going in his favor. Gronk is finally healthy. That helps. I think the fact that they're playing Cleveland, not that Cleveland's not a good team. Cleveland has played teams extremely well. They're about a 45-minute team. They can play well for 3 quarters, and then it kind of goes away. But I think what you'll see is they know the defense. Tom's played against the Steeler defense, Ray Horton, Dick LeBeau. He understands that. So I think he'll play within himself. The first rule he's going to do is not turn the ball over and make mistakes, because really, ultimately, that's the only way the Patriots can lose, is to give the Browns enough chances. So I think you'll see a composed and get his feet wet Tom Brady as he moves along. And I think he'll be very comfortable and build on to the Bengal game the next week and start to develop more.
Well, I expect him to be a little rusty, but this is what the doctor ordered, the Cleveland Browns. You have to realize he hadn't played in a month. And, you know, he played a couple of plays in the preseason, and now here it is a month later, he's coming back into regular season game. The thing that always concerns me with the player all of a sudden being thrust in is that he's throwing more than he normally would. He's dropping back more than he normally would. So now you start to get a little shoulder soreness. You get a little tweaks in your calf, or you're growing a hamstring, something like that. But other than that, if they're not going to put him under stress. You look at the Cleveland Browns, you said they're a 45-minute team. I give them a half. They're basically a half football team. They're not a good football team. Not to say in years to come they won't be, because they have some draft picks, and I believe in Hugh Jackson. But right now, the way they're constructed, they're not. I don't really see this game. I think now you can go out on a limb and say this. I think they're going to win big against the Browns, but I think Tom will be a little rusty early on, and he'll get his traction probably the second or third game.
So give me a score on this game. What's your gut feeling?
I'm going to say 34-13, 34-10.
Okay, all right. I say 0 Rusty for Tom Brady. I say 38-10 Patriots. And I say that this team is going to look a lot different than it even looked in the 3 games that it won, because the energy will rise on both sides of the ball. And that number 87 that we haven't seen very often, because he
only
has
has
one catch
catch
so far, I will bet you he'll have 5 or 6 catches for 70 or 80 yards, because Tom Brady will see to that. And forgive me for going off on this, but I need to do it one more time if you guys will suffer me on this. I believe that Tom Brady will come back with a vengeance. I think he is ready to wreak revenge on the National Football League for Deflategate, and he's going to take it out on opponent after opponent after opponent. And we all know Tom Brady with chip on shoulder can be a force of nature. Is that fair to say?
I think I don't disagree. I think in my communications with people in that organization, I think Tom is going to prove it's us against the world. And that's really how the theme of the Patriots works best, is us against the world. And I think what you'll see, to Shannon's point here, is, look, the Patriots are one of the few teams in the NFL that run the ball more in the first half now than throw it. They're 52% run, 48% pass. That's about to change dramatically.
Absolutely.
And that's going to change dramatically. They're going to throw the ball more. They're going to put the game in the quarterback's hands. And he's ready to really let everybody know that what they've done to him is unfair. And he's going to prove it on the field without saying a word. And his play is going to speak. And I agree with you, Skip. I think his play is going to speak extremely loud. And I think once all these pieces come together, Gronk, Martellus Bennett, and you see Edelman and Amendola, you start to see the offense come together. I think then it becomes really Tom is the point guard, and he's driving everything to the rim.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about Edelman's foot? You know, he's been in and out of practice. He's been, going in and out of some of the games. Are you concerned that this could be a problem long term?
I think you always are concerned with foot injuries with players. I think, whether it's a basketball player or a football player, that always is, because when they put that screw in your foot, there's always discomfort. And you feel that discomfort, and there's always a doubt, is it actually holding together? And I think Edelman has had doubts. I mean, he had it repaired once, then he got it repaired again in the offseason. So I think that's going to be a concern. I think the other factor we have to play here is the Patriots defense has not played well over the first month. They played a half against Miami. They played a decent game against Houston, a complete game. But really, with Ninkovich back now, I think that energy level you spoke to will rise. They need their defense to play better. They didn't tackle very well against Buffalo. They didn't cover very well against Buffalo. And I think that's got to be improved. And I think the one thing Belichick has been able to do do is, because of the poor performance in Buffalo, he's been able to say, Brady back, he doesn't tackle. Brady back, he doesn't cover. Brady back, he doesn't have speed on defense. Focus on what we need to do. Let everybody else talk about Brady. And I think that's really going to be the emphasis of the week.
So why do you think, well, Butler's played well, but Ryan, the other corner, why do you think he struggled so much this year?
You know, he really played well last year. He's come off a shoulder surgery last year. And I think Logan is a matchup corner. And I've often said this, corners are like a basketball team. You have to put them on the right guy.
Right.
And I think that he has some trouble with guys that have really good quickness.
Right.
I think he can handle the bigger kind of slumbering receivers. And I think when he does that, and last year his preparation was good. And I think this year, you know, he struggled with Robert Woods. And that's typically not something he should do, but he did. And I think that's got to improve. Butler has to get healthy, and I think Butler will, and that will improve.
So I'm going to finish on what I think Tom Brady's about to do and why he's going to do it. And you don't like to hear it, but I'm going to say it because this is the day to say it one last time. I still believe that Roger Goodell tried to punish the New England Patriots for their history of cheating by sacrificing the legacy of a now 39-year-old Tom Brady. And he did so by, in my opinion, framing Tom Brady, railroading Tom Brady, and ultimately convicting an innocent Tom Brady for Deflategate. And Tom fought it at two levels of our court system, as you well know. And I believe he would have won at the Supreme Court level, but he finally decided it was too big a distraction for his team and his locker room and his franchise. And it was also starting to take way too much time on court prep away from football prep time. And he finally said, I finally give up. And for the good of his team, he took his medicine. He took his 4 games. But the team rewarded him by somehow going 3-1,
Right.
which is pretty spectacular. So now he comes back right on schedule with Ninkovich, poised and positioned to make, I think, a run that will prove true that they will be the team with home field advantage all the way to the Super Bowl because they're set up to be that team.
Well, I mean, with that, Skip, I wish that we had a separate process where the guy that issues the punishment didn't hear the appeal and then reissues the punishment. Mike, I wish that was the case.
I mean, look,
but
I think what Skip said is so true. And look, I was there, so again, understanding that I have bias towards the Patriots, and I'm a full disclosure. But the Atlanta Falcons was pumping crowd noise into their stadium. Okay, they got fined. Now we find out they were cheating on the OTAs in terms of too much physical contact, and they took a couple. Like, when does the consistency of the National Football League ever start to come into play? Your star player in football, you basically are going to railroad him through when you really couldn't prove anything. You said it. Everybody else has said it. I mean, everybody's looked at it. You do that, and then the Atlanta Falcons do something wrong, but okay, we're only going to slap them or somebody else does it. It's completely wrong how the system, because you know what? I am a rules guy, routine guy. You tell me what the rules are, I'll follow them. What's the penalty? The Minnesota Vikings for doctoring the balls got fined $25,000, which is in the collective bargaining. That's what they were allowed to do. The Patriots did it. All of a sudden, they didn't even prove that they did it. Let's just put that out there. To me, there's no standard that we can go by. And if you can't do that as a player, you wonder what's the rules. Well, they make them up as they go.
They do. But I think the thing is that for most teams, when they went to the Falcons and said, Mr. Blank, we hear that you're, and Mr. Blank, that's a separate entity. Entertainment is different than the football operations. But they took, Rich McKay. Yeah. They took him off the competition committee.
For a month. For a month or two.
Here's the thing.
But he's going to practice every day watching the OTAs. He's on the competition committee. You think, why wouldn't he say, okay, look.
I don't disagree with you, but he's said it a bunch of times. The difference is when the Falcons get caught.
They say, we did it. Okay, what's the punishment? Y'all say, prove it. And it says, okay.
No, I think the Patriots said, I mean, look, I can only say this to you. When this story first broke, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my entire life, okay? Most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my entire life, because quarterbacks and their football are kind of like a sacred area, and everybody likes it differently, and they rub the balls down. I'm not saying any of that. So when I heard that, that was ridiculous. So to me, there was nobody, this whole thing's going on, and as somebody from inside the organization, nobody's really ever thought it was ever what it became. This isn't something, it became bigger than it. And we know this for a fact, that the report that was leaked out that said that these balls were overinflated, 11 of the 12, that report has been proven wrong. That report has been proven wrong, but nobody discusses that. Like, that's all just swept under the carpet. So you're basing a story off of a proven story, off of a dishonest story.
Yep.
I don't see
it's
how it
over
can
now.
go.
Tom Brady is
you're
back.
cutting us off. I can
Yeah,
see you don't want to go down this road. You don't want to go down this road.
It is, though. It's over. Tom Brady's back, and we'll see how he handles it on
That's
Sunday.
good for the league.